All right, what is up, my friends? Welcome to the Strixhaven School of Mages complete set review. I'm going over every single card, limited, constructed, every single one. Whatever you missed is on YouTube. We're doing red today and right now in this video, in this moment right here, right now. Anything you missed, so far we did lessons, white, blue, and black. We got to do green still. I'm going to break up all the multicolored cards into their houses and colorless. You name it, we're doing it all right? Mystic Archives we didn't do. Those are on my Cool Stuff article, coolstuffinc.com. Check out the article. Let's go. We're on to red now. We're on to red. Also doing a best in show of everything as well. Watching on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, Twitch, follow. I love y'all. First card here is Academic Dispute. 1 red instant. Target creature blocks this turn if able. You may have it gain reach till end of turn. So a forced block, which is not really worth a card, but we have a learn card here. Force the learn mechanic. You may reveal a lesson card from your sideboard and put it into your hand, or rummage, discard a card and draw a card. Don't forget the rummage part. That part's really good, actually. All right. So this is sort of like a weird cantrip, but the thing is that the learn cards aren't exactly cantrips because the lessons aren't really full cards. Again, if you missed the lesson section, I did it first for a reason because it's hard to contextualize the learn cards without the all of lessons card do. All lesson cards are overcosted and not very good by themselves, but they're kind of like a bonus, like a companion off to the side. So is this card good enough? In limited, like, I mean, if things line up right, in order for this card to work in limited, thanks to Resub Harlequin,
half a year hype.
We got to line it up so we force a creature to block and it like dies to our creature, but our creature doesn't die to other stuff too. So if they have like a 1/1 and a 3/3 in play, and we have a 3/3, we can force the 1/1 to block, but they'll also just block with the 3/3. You know, so like this card's gonna be pretty hard to make good in limited, just because like it's hard to line it up. It's reasonable. It's certainly playable. You can give your own things reach, sure. Like it's very, very narrow. Like it triggers Magecraft. It's not very good. So if we have like some really bomb lessons in our deck that we want to get, this card's like okay in limited, but for the most part, kind of unimpressive in limited, unplayable constructed, unless we're desperate to discard cards. It's important to note this card needs a target. You can't just cast this card on turn 1 and learn. So that's a concern as well. So not really playable in limited, in constructed. Limited, it's a maybe. It's not really super great. Up next is Ardent Dustspeaker. This is a bomb draft card. 5 mana for a 3/4. Whenever it attacks, you can put an instant or sorcery from your graveyard onto the bottom of your library. If you do, light up a stage. Exile top 2 cards. You may play them this turn. That's awesome. It's basically a 3/4 that will draw cards. Draw you 2 cards a turn, which is insane. And real good card. It's splashable. If you attack with this card once, you're already like way ahead. If you attack with this card twice, the game's over in limited. The game's just over. So real good card here. Should not be hard at all to get an instant or sorcery card in your graveyard. And if you get some way to shuffle, you can get your kill spells back like later in the game too, which is kind of cool. So super bomb and limited. Great card. Too chunky for constructed, but very good limited card. Excellent first pick material. Very good. Up next is Bloodage General. 2-drop. It's 2/2 for 2. It's a Spirit Warrior. Tap it to give attacking spirits +1/+0. This is your bread and butter, like, okay 2-drop. It's not great. It's fine. It's just okay. Foxes says worse than light up a stage. The thing is that it's 5 CMC. You only get the effect when you attack the next turn when you're already untapped. So you'll have all your mana available to use this every turn. So, yeah, just a bear. It's okay limited card. Not super great. Mild ability. Just like a medium card. If you're aggressive, it's fine. Just an okay card. Nothing exciting. Up next is Conspiracy Theorist. And we're starting off real fast here with our best in show. That's right. Best in show. Conspiracy Theorist. This is a real bear. The last bear was like a dinky limited bear. This is a real bear. Like, it's got claws or something. I guess. I don't know. Conspiracy Theorist. 2/2 for 2. Creature, human shaman. Whenever it attacks, you may pay 1 and discard a card. If you do, draw a card. That's solid. Just like being able to just rummage your cards in an aggro deck is like totally reasonable. And again, graveyard stuff. Discard a Skyclave Shade or whatever is pretty sweet. I would not be surprised if we see Madness again when the new Innistrad sets come out. So that's like way in the future, but that's reasonable, right? Also, it's an ability. Whenever you discard one or more non-land cards, you may exile one of them from your graveyard. If you do, you may cast it this turn. So I attack with this on turn 3. I pay 1. I discard my shock. Draw a card. Then I can just cast the shock from the graveyard. So that's awesome. That's just card advantage. It's just a card drawing engine. If you're playing on a cheap spell, this card's freaking awesome. So really, really sweet. Really, really sweet. I like this card a lot. Just a solid aggro card. There's a lot of value later in the game. Robber of the Rich, a little different than Robber of the Rich. I think this card's a little slower, a little more grindy, and then also possibly a little graveyard stuff. So card's super solid. I like this card a lot. I think it's at face value, this card's just fine. This card just draws cards. And then if you add some graveyard synergies, whatever, it's really, really good. It dies the Bone Crusher Giant. Every card dies the Bone Crusher Giant. You know, it's 2-drop. I think this card's really, really good. This card's really, really, really good. So, I like it. This card's great. And limited is phenomenal. Phenomenal bear and limited. Super, 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 super solid card. And also, if you rummage off of your learn effects later on, you also can cast those cards too, which is great. Because don't forget, learn is also a rummage. You can decline and get a lesson from your sideboard and just discard a card and draw a card and then cast the card you discarded. So, card's really good. I think you're all underrating it. This card's super awesome. It's great. Conspiracy, there's a good rate and limited, great constructed. I like this card a lot. Moving on. Crackle with power. I gotta get some more effects. Red XXX. What? Sorcery. I gotta get the calculator out. Crackle with power deals 5 times X damage to each of up to X targets. Now, it's very important to note, thanks to the sub, appreciate that, you can't target the same thing twice with this. All right? So you can't just like target you. So for 5 mana, you can deal 5 damage to 1 target. Okay? For 8 mana, you can deal, hold on, carry the 1. That's 2. 5 times 2 is 10. You can deal 10 damage to 2 targets. Again, not the same target twice. That's 8 mana. For 11 mana, you can deal 15 damage to 3 targets. That will win you the game. But it costs 11 mana, so what the hell do you expect? You know? So, the card's obviously very powerful if you have a bunch of mana. But you need to have a lot of mana. So, again, 5 mana, deal 5 to 1 thing. 8 mana, deal 10 to 2 things. Anything else is just overkill, you know? 8 mana is a lot. So, definitely a fun commander card. Good and limited, because 5 mana for 5 damage, limited is totally fine. And then for 8 mana, you just win the game, obviously. Ironcrag Feat is legal. That is true. That is true. You can't double Ironcrag Feat because reasons. But it is legal. So this is a big silly card. Probably not seeing play constructed, unless there's some dumb like Tron deck in standard or whatever. But powerful limited card, cute commandery casual card. Just amusing. A lot of math. It's fun. Next card is Draconic Intervention, right into for a sorcery. Additional cost to cast a spell. Exile an instant sorcery card from your graveyard. So sure, not the hardest thing in the world to do. Draconic Intervention deals X damage each non-dragon creature, or X is the exiled card's mana value. If a creature dealt damage this way would die, exile it instead. Exile Intervention. Yo, bro. I heard you like exiling. So, kind of like a weird sweeper here. Now, a lot of the Prismari mechanics involve very expensive sorceries you can discard to get a treasure. Big thing here is also learn. Don't forget, learn is rummage. Learn is rummage. You can rummage a spell into the graveyard and then cast this. It's okay. I mean, like, we can discard some expensive spell, like deal 8 to everything or whatever. Is it better than Storm's Wrath? I mean, maybe. You know, it's okay. There really isn't much like dragon stuff going on in standard, so like that part's kind of irrelevant. It's just a card. I don't know. It's all right. In limited, it's great because you can definitely like work your way around to make it good or whatever. But it's just a card. I don't know. It's not super exciting. Probably won't see much play. It's just fine. A lot of words. A lot of words. This is really like the textbook set. There are so many words in these cards. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. There also aren't a lot of planeswalkers, which is true. Yeah. Goldspan Dragon is okay with this. A-okay. It's good. Thumbs up. All right, so next card is Dragon's Approach. 3 mana for a sorcery. It's a lava spike. And then you may exile it and 4 other cards named Dragon's Approach from your graveyard. Wait, what? 4 other cards and this? All the same name? What? And if you do, search library for a dragon card and put it into play. A deck can have any number of cards named this card. So this card's for the lols. The memes in Modern, there's Thrumming Stone, which is a 5 mana card that gives things Ripple, and you just kill your opponent with this card because Ripple means you look at your top cards and cast a spell with the same name, so you just go, which is kind of cute. But yeah, I mean, silly meme card, not particularly good or playable in any way. We're gonna move on here. Up next is Fervent Flamepainter. 4 mana for a 1/4 double strike. Okay. Never deals combat damage to a player. You may cast an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. That spell will be put in the graveyard, exile instead. This is your typical, like, way over the top commander card. Like, it's so hard to make this card actually work. If it does work, woo! Fireworks go off. You did it, But it's just like really hard to make work. It's a freaking 4 mana 1/4 without haste, no evasion. This card's just unplayable, constructed in basically every way. In limited, it's fine. A 1/4 double strike for 4 is like kind of fine limited. But this is the kind of card people see and they imagine all their dream scenarios of like things going crazy. And yeah, just as a casual card. Just a casual card. Up next is Enthusiastic Study. 3 mana for an instant. Creature gets +3/+1 and trampled on a turn and learn. So much worse than Run Amok. Like much worse. That only 1 toughness means that we're not trading up that often. Run the risk of our creature just dying also, which sucks. Learn is good though. Having Learn on here is pretty nice. It's sort of like a weird cantrip. 3 is also a lot for a pump spell. So like we have a very clunky, mediocre pump spell with the ability to cantrip on it. Cantrip, sort of. This is very good with the last card. That is true. But this card is okay. It's not great. It's pretty hard to use. I imagine decks that want to learn a lot are going to be a little slower and not super aggressive. So it's all right. Trample is cool, but I don't know. I think I just hate 3 mana pump spells. They're just so clunky. If this was like +2/+2 in Trample also, but I'm not a big fan of this card in limited. Up next, Explosive Welcome. 8 mana instant. Deals 5 to one target and 3 to another target. Add red. I mean, I guess. The full set is out, Mr. Full set's out. So yeah, I mean, this card's pretty bad. Like, I don't know what you're doing with this card. Like, just costs 8 mana. It's a card you can rummage and put into your graveyard with Learn and then exile 2 different effects and stuff. But like, pretty bad card. Maybe your draft deck can really need the top end, But up next is Fervent Mastery. Red, and 3 for a sorcery. This is our entry into the cycle where you can unkick your card. So for 5 mana, search the library for 3 cards, put them in your hand, shuffle, discard the cards at random. This is a triple gamble, which is also already like a pretty suspect effect. If you want, you can pay 4 mana instead and allow your opponent to rummage any number of cards in their hand and then draw that many cards. So realistically, like, I mean, I don't know what deck would ever want this card. Like, there's no like Life Malome effect in Standard that makes Gamble, like that's what makes Gamble so good in Legacy. I guess Arclight's good. That's fair. That's actually pretty good. So you get 3 Arclight Phoenixes? Sure. That's fair. That's fair. That could be a thing. Hollow one? Sure. Okay. You all thought of some stuff that I didn't. But still pretty expensive. 3 Phoenix is pretty nice. 3 hollow ones also. That's pretty cool too. Just get real lucky. But kind of cool. So that's kind of cute. But not very exciting. Not playable unlimited. Just a weird like bulk rare. Next up, first day of class, 2-minute instant. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control of its turn, put a counter on it and it gains haste. And learn. This card is weird. So like, there's a lot of token stuff in Golgari. And if you can make, like, if you could play this with that, that's kind of cool. If you were to play token stuff, it's pretty cool. It's kind of a cute card, honestly. And of course, it can learn as well. But I don't know what you'd really be doing with this card in Constructed to make it worth the cost. Like, if it cost 1 red and didn't learn, maybe. But, like, the deck that's doing this is also not super excited to learn either. So, like, this kind of is a really, really weird card. You're playing Empty the Warrens. You probably don't need this card to win the game. It's okay, I guess. It's a card. It's a card. I don't know. It's all right. I can see you're playing Play Unlimited. It's just like putting a counter on your creature and learning is kind of okay too, but kind of a weird card. Kind of weird card. In Dredge. Okay, hold on. In Dredge, maybe we're talking. So in Dredge, we can play this, Rummage, Dredge, and then put counters on the thing. All right, that's fair. That's fair. So again, like I'm saying, the Rummage part of Learn is one of the cooler parts of the ability, for older formats especially. So if we're rummaging and using the effectiveness, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. I could buy that maybe. So that's a possibility. Combo with Persist. Or creature enters battlefield under your control of his turn, put a counter on it, and it gains these. Yeah. Actually. Right? So this is, sure. Yeah, okay, sure. That's fair too. I'm not sure what deck would want that either, but yeah, it's a card. It's a weird card. I don't know, honestly. Does not work with Devoted Druid as a guy coming to play, but it's kind of a cool card. It's kind of cool. This card does a lot of things actually. Interesting card. We're gonna move on though. Fuming Effigy. 4 mana for a 4/3. Whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard, it deals 1 to each opponent. So again, there's some synergy in Boros. Did I say Boros? I meant Lorehold. For exiling cards from your graveyard. It's just a reasonably sized creature. It's an okay limited card. Not a card you're going to love having in your deck, but it's also a fine card too. So, just fine. Please note, it is 1 or more. So you can't just like Tormod's Crypt yourself and then deal 20 damage. If you Tormod's Crypt yourself, you'll deal 1. So, if you have like a Scavenging Ooze, you could like exile a card, take 1, exile a card, take 1, exile a card, take 1, but like no one's playing a 4/3 for 4 in standard. So Grinning Ignus returns. This card was in Future Sight. 3 mana for a 2/2. You can pay a red and bounce it to your hand and make enough mana to cast it again. So basically what this does is this allows you to spend red mana to add to your storm count, or to like Lotus Petal kind of ramp into stuff. Play this on turn 3. On turn 4, you play a land, you bounce it, you have 6 mana. This is going to be a very important card for Historic, because this is the card that's going to allow you to storm. With a Steam-Kiln in play, or with a Biggery in play. Biggery? Burgery, whatever. This makes infinite mana. So that's a big deal. This is more of a card for Historic than anything else. Burgie, a little Burgie action. So, yeah. And then, of course, in older formats, this card already exists, so it's not really a thing. But, yeah, definitely Hazard's Monument, Burgie, Steam-Kiln, just anything that can reduce the cost of this thing or make mana when you cast it, and you've got infinite red mana. And, of course, Brave Shots now in Historic, thanks to the Mystical Archives. Again, if you missed the Mystical Archives and you want to know what's about them, they're not going to be in the set review. Why? I'll tell you why. Bam! They're all right here. My CoolStuffInc.com article. Every single one of them. They're all there. Go to CoolStuffInc.com. Check out the article for all the Mystic Archive cards. In Limited, there are some like pseudo Storm cards in Limited. So this could be a thing there, but just like, okay. Just okay. Up next is Hall Monitor. It's a 1/1 hasted Lizard Shaman. Not sure why the Hall Monitor is haste, but sure. And a creature can't block this turn. This card, if you're an aggro deck, is fine. It's just fine. It's just like a card that can push through damage early and late. It's all right. It's a draft card, but it's a Raging Goblin. It's not great, but it's fine. Heated Debate is next. 3 mana for an instant. Can't be countered. Deals 4 damage to a creature or planeswalker. This is your Demon Bolt of the set. Probably going to be your best common for red. Just your usual removal spell. It's an instant. Can't be countered matters because of the Ward ability. Ward is the ability that will counter things because you must pay 2. So this is like the good removal spell that gets around the Ward thing. Nothing to see here really. This is a very good removal spell in limited, unplayable constructed for the most part. It's a card. Just a card. Up next, Ingenious Inspiration. 3 mana for a sorcery. Deal 3 to any target. So this is a really bad Volcanic Hammer. Costs 3. Not great on face value, but we have a sort of pseudo cantrip here in the learn effect. So we can rummage here, or we can get a lesson from our sideboard. For limited, this card's phenomenal. This card is just a straight 2 for 1 unlimited because sorcery speed, 3 damage for 3 is like honestly pretty good in limited. We're not really unhappy with that. So right off the bat, top pick in limited because that plus the learn effect is really, really good. Constructed, not so much. Not so much. Maybe, possibly, maybe. But for the most part, it's a super, super solid draft card. Illustrious Historian's next. 2 mana for a 2/1. And you can pay 5, exile it from the bin, and make a 3/2. This is a great draft common. Great draft common. These sorts of 2-drops that can trade early and give you card advantage later are awesome. And that's not even counting the fact that there are a number of cards in the lore hold, like strategy or whatever, that care about things being exiled from the graveyard. This is an excellent common. Excellent common. Really, really solid, good card. Likes the card a lot for limited. This is the kind of card where it's not blowing you away in any one thing that does, but it just fills your curve at all points and makes your draft deck super, super smooth. Great draft common. Not playable constructed, but great draft common. Great draft common. Up next is Mascot Interception, where they're going to get your Quaffle and they're going to hit your Snitch. 4 mana for a sorcery. Costs 3 to cast if it targets a creature token. And this is a threaten that gives +2/+0, haste until end of turn. There are a number of sack effects in black. Of course, black-red, not one of the houses, which is kind of weird. Usually the black-red sacrifice deck sort of thing. Could splash this in your Witherbloom deck, though. Important thing to note here is that a large part of the Quandrix, I'm still learning, folks. Quandrix mechanic is based on making these shard tokens. These creatures that are all fractal tokens that are all really pretty big. So stealing your opponent's 5/5 fractal and smashing them for 7 with it, it's pretty sweet. And then of course if you have sack out, that's even better. So definitely it's reasonable. I wouldn't play this card straight up in limited, but if you have sack outlets and things like that, or you're just really, really aggressive, or as a sideboard card against Simic decks, this card is certainly playable in that regard. Constructed, if there's some sort of weird token deck, I guess maybe, but Claim the Firstborn is a lot better constructed. So Pigment Storm is next. Red and 3 for a sorcery. It's a 5 damage spell with trample. This is like your middle of the road. I didn't really get any good removal, so I got to play this card, kind of draft card. Sorcery, 5 mana, both aren't great. It will kill things if you need to, but you prefer not to play this card in your deck. Like your draft deck is really, really good if you're cutting this card, but it's also just like fine to play as well. It's not great, not super exciting, but it's fine. If you're aggressive, you like it more, obviously. It's okay. You'll play it if you have to, Next up is Pillardrop Warden. 4 mana for a 1/5.
Oh my god, Becky.
It's got reach. It's actually pretty important as far as block. It's a good flyer blocker. You pay 2 and sack it. You can get a instant or sorcery card from your graveyard into your hand. This card's honestly pretty fine if you're like a slow defensive deck with a lot of spells. A 1/5 reach blocker is actually like pretty chunky. Again, the sizing of the format will matter here. For example, the 3/7 black Dusk Rider in the last set for 6 mana was awesome. because 7 was the magic number. 7 blocked everything and didn't die to anything. So the sizing will matter based on the format. It just so happened that 7 was magic number in that format. What's a magic number in this format? I don't really know. But very solid defensive card for your like defensive deck. Rebuy your spells. Value goes up. You have a lot of good spells, obviously, but solid card. Dwarf with reach. I don't know why it's got reach. I don't know why it's a freaking dwarf, but what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Up next is Retriever Phoenix, one of the more interesting cards in the set. This is a 4-mana 2/2 flyer with haste. So unfortunately, not a 3/2. You know, most Phoenixes are 3/2s or 3-mana 2/2s, but so 4 mana for a 2/2 is not great. When it comes into play, if you cast it, learn. Now, this is a spot where learn being rummage is really important. Because we can use learn cards to rummage this into the graveyard and then get it back later. As long as this card's in your graveyard, if you would learn, you may instead return this to the battlefield. So that's pretty cool. So you can use your learn cards early on to just put this in the graveyard, rummage it, and then later on, you can use them to return it. So say we have the 2/1, the white 2/1 that learns. Turn 2, play that, discard the Phoenix. Turn 3, we could play like that bolt that learns and bring it back, which is pretty cool. So 2/2 is definitely a little smaller than I would like, but it's a very interesting card based around a very weird new mechanic. This card's sweet. Will it see tons of play? Not sure. But this card has potential and constructed for sure. Because there's a lot of ways to easily get this card in the graveyard. Like, easily. Is it good enough? We'll see. But very playable. In limited, this card's the bomb. It's a great card in limited. But could definitely see play constructed. We'll see. It can also block, which is important. So recursive creatures that can block are pretty good defensively. Solid card. You could also, if you have an instant with learn, you can put it in and play instant speed. Cool card. I like it. Up next is Storm-Kiln Artist. 4 mana for a 2/2. Plus +1 for each artifact you control. And then Magecraft, make a treasure. There aren't a lot of artifact things in this set. This card's like totally out of place. Like, yeah, it can, power itself up a little bit. Yeah, it can make some treasures, I guess. But at 2 toughness for 4 mana, it doesn't block well. Doesn't attack particularly well. It's just like not a very good card. If there were things that care more about these cards, sure, but it's just not super exciting. Sudden Breakthrough, 2 mana instant. Creature gets +2/+0 and first strike. Make a treasure. Card's fine. It's not great. As I've said before, I love 1 mana tricks. I don't like 2 mana tricks very much. This is an okay one. +2/+0 first strike is fine. Treasure matters. We can cast a 5-drop ahead of schedule or whatever. This card's like okay. It's not great. It's your average like 2 mana trick in limited. It's fine. Tome Shredder. Goblin Chariot. Here we are. 3 mana for a 2/2. Haste. You can tap it to exile an instant sorcerer card from your graveyard and put a counter on it. So, as we said earlier, Lorehold has effects that care about exiling stuff for benefits. This does that reasonably well. While also being a card that just scales reasonably well. This card's fine. Solid draft card. How good it is will depend on how many exiling effects you care about in your deck, but definitely a reasonable card, limited, unplayable, constructed. And Twinscroll Shaman. We got a 3 mana 1/2 double strike. The good thing here is there aren't any more words. Sometimes I'm tired of reading all these words. This card's like not great. If you have some way to augment it, sure, but for the most part, pretty unexciting. You'll know if this deck's good or not, honestly. If this card's good or not. Last time we saw this card was in Theros. It was actually a red, and 1. And it was really good because that was the Bestow set. So everything was an aura. So like a double striker was great. But here in Strixhaven, not super great. It's not super great. And that's red. That's red, folks. We're going to keep moving right along here. Green is next. YouTube, folks, like, comment, subscribe. If you missed any of this, please go to my YouTube. Check it out. Check out all the videos. All right. Make sure you leave a comment. Let me know what card you think is the best. Am I wrong or am I right? Check my sponsors, CoolStuffInc.com, BCW, Colas Apparel, and Insight Esports. I love y'all. I'll see you soon.